Hey guys, welcome back to another video. We're gonna be talking about some wrestling news right now. So let's get into it. This was a pretty good episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Actually having a banger match between Ilja Dragunov and Nathan Frazer, by the way, is also a banger. I would highly recommend this match. But after the match, Axiom and DIY came out. And they started chaos because, of course, we have Fraxium and DIY. They're probably going to have a match either next week or the week after that. Or maybe they'll never have a match. They'll probably never even continue. But there's really nothing to talk about here because even though this was one of the better episodes of SmackDown, it was simply all because of this match. This match was good, and like I said, if you have Netflix, get a VPN for this, because this was I highly recommend this. Or if you have like a satellite or whatever you're doing, I highly recommend this for you to watch this match. So Saturday night's main event takes off with the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. It was a very solid match. The referee, of course, kept getting in the way, and he eventually got attacked by Drew McIntyre or Cody Rhodes. I kind of forgot who it was. Anyways, Drew McIntyre grabbed the title, but Cody DDT'd him on the title. Cody Rhodes hit Drew McIntyre with the crossroads. Of course, Cody comes out on top because, you know, it's freaking Cody Rhodes. He's always going to come out on top at this point. So next, it is a match between Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton. It was basically a squash match. Of course, Jade Cargill hit Tiffany with 2 power bombs. Then a Jaded, of course, Jade Cargill wins the title, like how I predicted it. And then we go over that match because there's really nothing to talk about. But, of course, we have Dominic versus Penta versus Rusev. There was really nothing special that happened in this match in the earlier stages. But Rusev had Penta in the escalated. But the bell rings kind of like, you know, when a match actually ends and taps out. The bell rung, but it was actually Dominic doing that to try and distract Rusev, and eventually Dom won the title. It actually had me fooled because I really thought Rusev won the title then, but Dom retained. So let's move on to the next match. And then we're talking about the big main event. We're talking about the big glamour of them all. Of course, this match, it was solid. This was probably one of my favorite CM Punk matches from like a long time. But it was also one of my favorite Jey Uso matches. Probably since the Gunther versus Jey Uso match after the Money in the Bank. I'll have to think about it for Jey Uso, but I definitely know it for Punk. I know Punk had a really solid match with Gunther, but of course that's been a pretty while back. That's not been in this month. So I would say for this month, CM Punk and Jey Uso probably put on the best match of this month, if we're not including AEW, TNA, all the indie promotions, and, you know, all the top promotions, you know, like AAA, AEW, TNA, and all of them. So, of course, there were some interesting spots. Of course, Jey Uso hit the spin and the splash. I really thought he was going to win the title, and I know a lot of people were probably going to get mad at me, but I wanted Jey Uso to win the title, because I feel like even though Seth Rollins is injured and everything, they should have kept the storyline going on with CM Punk, that he can never win the title, have Jey Uso turn heel, do all of that. But CM Punk, he tried to go for the GTS, you know, then he tried to go for another GTS, but literally, Jey Uso got out of it, and he put CM Punk in a lock, like the rear naked choke, kind of like how Gunther used to do it. So, that's very interesting, and I actually thought CM Punk was going to tap out, because I just feel like they should keep it going. Of course, like I said in the last little bit, I feel like they should keep it going simply because CM Punk can never win the title without somebody trying to screw him over. I feel like maybe Braun Breaker could have came out, injured him again, but that means the title would have been vacated again. There's different storylines, but there's just a lot of repetitive ones. So I can see why they just gave it to Punk. But I mean, they could have gave it to Jey Uso. I mean, there was a very, very fantastic match. Of course, CM Punk got out of it and everything, and then he finally hit a GTS. Then Jey goes back off the ropes. I thought he was going to hit him with a spear and reverse it, but then of course CM Punk comes back and he hits him with another GTS, which was probably one of my favorite spots of this match. It was very, very good. So this match was probably my favorite match on the card. But Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes was a pretty good match. And overall, in the ratings, I will give Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes, I will give them a 2.9, ladies and gentlemen. And then for the next match, which was Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill, if this match would have just went a little bit longer, I mean, I probably would have gave this, actually a 3 stars. But I feel like they made a star in Jade, so I'm giving it a 2.8. And then we have, Penta versus Dominic versus Rusev for the Intercontinental title. It was a clever way to trick my mind, so I really have to give this, a 3 stars. So a 3.0 out of 5. I probably said out of 10, but it's out of 5. So this match was above average, but it wasn't diabolical. But then the next match we have CM Punk versus Jey Uso for the title. I really like this match. It had my emotions on peak. So I'll put this match at a 3.3 out of 5 stars. So that will be that's very, very good rating for Jey Uso and CM Punk, because they put on a banger of a match. Just like how Ilja Dragunov and Nathan Frazer did. Look, why don't we just rate that match too? Nathan Frazer versus Ilja Dragunov, you know what? Easily 4.6. I'll give that a 4.6, and that was probably one of Ilya's best matches on the main roster, maybe even down in NXT too. You can compare all of those, just not the one with Gunther, and I bet you could probably say that his match with Nathan Frazer was probably better than all of his matches in actual NXT, not NXT UK. But I mean, there's a lot of bangers that he had in NXT, so I can see why you don't say that. But his match with Nathan Frazer was probably one of the best matches that he's definitely had since he's been on the main roster. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying out of all this video. You know, it's probably going to be titled Raw, not Raw, but SmackDown and Saturday Night's Main Event SNME review or something like that. So I just want to say shout out to all the people out there that is watching this video. So without further ado, peace.